Why do most long running stories fall apart over time? Characters lose their charm, plots grow convoluted, and audiences move on. Yet, One Piece stands out as an anomaly, a series that has not only survived but thrived for over 27 years and counting. It's a masterpiece of storytelling that has captured the hearts of millions across generations, cultures, and languages. So, how did Eiichiro Oda pull this off? How did he craft a tale so enduring that has outlasted nearly all of Weekly Shonen Jump's contemporaries? When One Piece began serialization in Weekly Shonen Jump in 1997, it entered a competitive era of manga. It shared the magazine pages with some of the most recognizable names in shonen history, series like Naruto and Bleach. These titles went on to define an entire generation of readers and anime fans before eventually concluding. But One Piece hasn't just outlasted its contemporaries, it's even outlived newer hits from the next generations of Weekly Shonen Jump, such as My Hero and Demon Slayer. As many of these newer series have already wrapped up, One Piece continues to challenge yet another generation of manga, proving that its journey is far from over. At the time of this recording, One Piece boasts over 1,100 chapters and has been serialized for an incredible 27 years. It's not just a manga, it's a cultural institution. It has surpassed the boundaries of manga and anime, spawning movies, merchandise, theme park attractions, and even a live action adaptation. Few stories, if any, have achieved this level of longevity and sustained impact. At the center of it all is the visionary creator himself, Eiichiro Oda, a man who not only dreamed of creating the greatest pirate story of all time, but the one who meticulously planned every step of the journey. Oda's passion for storytelling is unparalleled. He is a perfectionist who works tirelessly, dedicating countless hours each week to crafting the world of One Piece. His incredible work ethic, combined with his ability to innovate, has kept his stories fresh for nearly 3 decades. Unlike most creators who might struggle to maintain consistency over time, Oda's brilliance lies in his long term vision. From the very beginning, he knew how One Piece would end. This foresight allowed him to weave a narrative filled with mysteries, foreshadowings, and payoffs that continue to shock and delight fans even after 27 years. And yet, despite his meticulous planning, he also remains flexible, adapting the story to ensure it resonates with newer generations of fans. Let's take a moment to reflect on this. One Piece has outlasted nearly all of its peers in Weekly Shonen Jump. Titles like Naruto, Bleach, Demon Slayer, and My Hero Academia, all of which were incredibly prominent in their time, have concluded. But One Piece keeps moving forward, constantly reinventing itself while staying true to its core. This longevity isn't just about perseverance, it's about maintaining a level of quality and consistency that most long running series struggle to achieve. Oda's ability to evolve his story, introduce new characters, and build upon an ever expanding world is what sets One Piece apart from the rest. Let's face it, telling a good story is hard. Telling a story that spans decades is nearly impossible. Most long running narratives fall victim to either stagnation or overcomplication. Characters become stagnant, arcs begin to feel repetitive, or the plot collapses under the weight of too many loose ends. And yet, One Piece not only avoids these pitfalls, it thrives. This is because Oda understands the delicate balance required to keep a story engaging over time. He constantly introduces new characters, locations, and ideas while tying them back to the overarching narrative. Each arc feels distinct yet connected. Every character, no matter how minor, has a purpose. This meticulous attention to detail is one of the key reasons One Piece remains compelling even after nearly 3 decades. So, what is the secret to Eiichiro Oda's unparalleled success? How did he create a story so expansive and rich that it continues to captivate millions of fans worldwide? In this video, we're going to break it all down, from Oda's masterful world building and character development to his ability to balance intricate plotting with emotional storytelling. We'll explore exactly how One Piece became the gold standard for long-running storytelling. Buckle up because this is going to be one epic journey. Before we dive into the characters, world building, and themes of One Piece, we need to start where it all begins, with the opening pages of the series. These pages set the stage for the journey ahead, introducing not only the world of One Piece, but also the sense of adventure, mystery, and intrigue that defines the story. We open with the execution of Gold D. Roger, the Pirate King. His death isn't just an event, it's a monumental moment that changes the course of history. As Roger stands before a crowd of onlookers facing his demise, he utters the words that ignite the great pirate era. My treasure, it's yours if you want it. Search for it. I left everything in that place. In just a few sentences, Ichiro Oda creates a sense of mystery so compelling that drives the entire story forward. What is the One Piece? Where is it hidden? Why did Roger leave it behind? These questions hang over the narrative like a shadow, yet Oda masterfully avoids giving us any immediate answers. Instead, the treasure becomes a mythic goal, an idea that symbolizes freedom, ambition, and the limitless potential of dreams. This opening scene is more than just a prologue. It's a thesis statement for the entire series. By centering the story around a treasure whose nature remains unknown, Oda taps into one of humanity's most enduring desires, the pursuit of the unknown. The One Piece isn't just a physical object, it's a beacon of possibility, a call to adventure, and a symbol of unyielding ambition. What's fascinating is how One Piece treats its titular treasure. For the majority of the series, it's rarely discussed in depth. Characters don't sit around theorizing about what the One Piece might be or how they'll find it. Instead, it serves as a backdrop for the journey itself. The focus shifts to the people, places, and challenges encountered along the way, reinforcing the idea that the adventure itself is just as important, if not more so, than the destination. Gold D. Rogers' presence looms large over the story. Despite the fact that he's introduced at the moment of his death, Oda immediately establishes Roger as a legendary figure, the man who reached the ends of the Grand Line, amassed untold riches, and achieved the ultimate title, Pirate King. But his execution adds layers to his character. Rather than being remembered as a conqueror, Roger's final words position him as a catalyst for others to pursue their own dreams. This idea of inspiring others to take up the mantle of ambition is a reoccurring theme throughout One Piece. It's embodied not only in Roger but in the story's protagonist, Monkey D. Luffy. Both characters share a singular drive not just to achieve their dreams but to encourage others to dream alongside them. While Roger's story begins with his execution, Luffy begins with his declaration to become the next Pirate King. In many ways, the series is about the echoes of Roger's legacy and how Luffy transforms that legacy into something uniquely his own. Roger's death doesn't just spark the beginning of One Piece. It fundamentally reshapes the world, with the treasure of the Pirate King up for grabs. Countless pirates set sail, each hoping to claim the One Piece and the title of the Pirate King for themselves. This creates a chaotic, lawless age filled with rivalries, alliances, and conflict. But what makes Oda's framing so brilliant is how he uses the Great Pirate era as a stage for exploration and storytelling. The pursuit of the One Piece isn't just about treasure, it's about discovery. The Grand Line, the mysterious islands, and the legendary artifacts like the poneglyphs all exist within the context of Roger's final words, tying every corner of the world back to this single moment. Yet, despite the significance of the One Piece, it rarely takes center stage in the narrative. For much of the story, the treasure feels more like an idea than an actual object. This is deliberate. Oda uses the mystery of the One Piece to frame the journey rather than define it. By keeping the nature of the treasure ambiguous, he allows readers to focus on the journey itself, the bonds formed between crewmates, the struggles against the impossible odds, and the pursuit of individual dreams. It's also worth noting how this framing affects the readers themselves. As fans of the series, we become so immersed in the adventures of the Straw Hats that we often forget about the treasures entirely, and yet it remains there in the background, an ever present reminder of the ultimate goal. This subtle narrative technique keeps the stakes high while allowing the story to evolve naturally. From Roger's execution to the rise of the Great Pirate era, Oda creates a world brimming with mystery, ambition, and adventure. But no story can thrive on world building alone. To truly bring this world to life, Oda needed a protagonist who could embody its spirit, a character who could take up Roger's legacy while forging his own path. That character is Monkey D. Luffy. With his unshakable determination, infectious optimism, and bold declaration to become king of the pirates, Luffy is the heart and soul of One Piece. From the very first chapter, his journey begins with a sense of purpose that mirrors the ambition sparked by Roger's final words. But what makes Luffy's journey so compelling isn't just his dream, it's how he inspires others to dream alongside him. But where do we begin unraveling the genius of One Piece? At its heart, every great story is driven by its characters, and Eiichiro Oda understands this better than anyone. While the adventure, mystery, and world building of One Piece are undeniably important, they would mean little without a protagonist who embodies the spirit of the story. Enter Monkey D. Luffy, the boy with a straw hat, an unshakable dream, and a smile that can change the world. From the very first chapter, Oda introduces us to Luffy in a way that not only defines who he is, but also sets the tone for everything that follows. Luffy isn't just a hero of One Piece. He's the emotional core, the moral compass, and the driving force of the entire narrative. To understand how One Piece has thrived for over 27 years, we must first understand Luffy. His introduction in the chapter isn't just a character setup, it's a masterclass in storytelling, laying the groundwork for his ideals, relationships, and the journey ahead. Luffy's interactions with Shanks in the first chapter are pivotal to understanding his characters. Through these moments, Eiichiro Oda masterfully establishes the foundations of Luffy's moral compass and his approach to the journey ahead. Shanks is more than just a mentor to Luffy. He's a symbol of what a true pirate should be, someone who values loyalty, camaraderie, and freedom over the senseless violence or greed. One of the most defining moments of their relationship comes when Shanks defends Luffy from Higuma the Bandit. Despite being insulted and provoked, Shanks remains calm and non-confrontational until his friends are endangered. This teaches Luffy an invaluable lesson. Strength just isn't about power, it's about protecting what matters most. This philosophy becomes a core aspect of Luffy's character, encapsulated in his own belief. Good reason or not, nobody hurts a friend of mine. It's also through Shanks that Luffy's iconic straw hat, the ultimate symbol of his dream, enters the story. When Shanks places the straw hat on Luffy's head and tells him, "Bring this back to me someday when you've become a great pirate," it cements Luffy's resolve. This moment not only connects Luffy to Shanks' legacy, but also ties his dream to a sense of responsibility and promise. The hat isn't just a piece of clothing, it's a physical manifestation of Luffy's ambition and the trust Shanks has placed in him. Later in the chapter, after Shanks leaves and Luffy sets sail, he boldly declares his intent. "I'm going to gather a crew of at least 10 members, and I'm going to become king of the pirates." This moment is critical because it reflects Luffy's deeply personal dream, one that is so much about companionship as it is about achieving greatness. Luffy just doesn't want to reach the top, he wants to share the journey with people who embody the same values of loyalty, freedom, and trust that he learned from Shanks. This declaration isn't just an ambition, it's a statement about Luffy's belief in the power of teamwork and camaraderie. From the outset, Oda frames Luffy's goal not as a solitary pursuit but as a collective one. This vision of shared dreams becomes a reoccurring theme throughout One Piece, driving much of the emotional weight of the story. Every crewmate Luffy recruits is not means to an end. They're individuals with their own dreams, burdens, and ideas, all of which are embraced and uplifted by Luffy's leadership. This setup at the end of the first chapter isn't just about stating Luffy's dreams, it's about planting seeds for the core dynamics of One Piece. Luffy's journey isn't just about personal glory or selfish ambitions. Instead, it's about building a family of equals who share a common purpose and whose bonds deepen over time. This emphasis on camaraderie and mutual trust is what makes One Piece resonate so deeply with its audience. Every emotional high in the series, whether it's the bond between the Straw Hats, their determination to protect each other, or their willingness to fight for one another, can be traced back to this initial declaration. Luffy's dream to gather a crew and become the king of the pirates fundamentally tied to his belief in shared dreams, which becomes the beating heart of the series. Now that we've established who Luffy is, what he wants, and how his dream is rooted in camaraderie and loyalty, let's address one of the most unique aspects of his character. Luffy is a static protagonist. Unlike many protagonists who grow or evolve through internal struggles, Luffy knows exactly who he is, what he believes in, and what he wants from the start. His dreams, personality, and moral compass are unwavering. This might seem like a limitation at first. After all, don't great stories require characters to grow and change? Not necessarily. What makes Luffy's static nature so impactful is how it allows him to change the world around him. Luffy's strength as a character lies in his ability to inspire growth, transformation, and hope in everyone he meets. He doesn't need to change because he already embodies the ideals the story seeks to explore: freedom, loyalty, courage, and the unyielding pursuit of dreams. Luffy's unwavering nature serves as a catalyst for change in nearly every major arc of One Piece. Time and again, we see him encounter characters who are trapped, whether by their past, their circumstances, or their own self-doubt, and through his sheer willpower and belief in his ideals, Luffy helps break them free. The first crewmate Luffy recruits is Roronoa Zoro, a man bound by his vow to become the world's greatest swordsman, but with no clear path forward. Luffy doesn't just offer Zoro a chance to join his crew, he gives Zoro a renewed sense of purpose by believing in his dream as much as he believes in his own. Perhaps one of the most emotional examples is Nami, who starts as a thief working to free her village from the tyranny of Arlong. When Nami finally breaks down and asks for help, Luffy doesn't hesitate. By destroying Arlong's empire and liberating her village, Luffy shows Nami that she doesn't have to carry her burden alone. From this moment on, Nami becomes an integral part of the crew, trusting Luffy with her own dream. Nico Robin's story takes this theme even further. For years, Robin believed she was a burden to everyone around her, someone unworthy of friendship or love. Luffy's unwavering determination to save her at Enies Lobby, going as far as to declare war on the world to protect her, proves to Robin that her life has value. This moment of transformation wouldn't be possible without Luffy's steadfast nature. Each of these examples highlights how Luffy's static personality isn't a weakness. It's the very reason the story moves forward. By staying true to himself, Luffy inspires others to believe in their own dreams and overcome their struggles. Of course, some might critique Luffy's static nature, arguing that it makes him predictable or limits his depth as a protagonist. But in the context of a long-running narrative like One Piece, a static protagonist is a brilliant storytelling choice. Here's why. One Piece is a sprawling, ever-evolving narrative with countless characters, locations, and conflicts. Amidst all this chaos, Luffy serves as a constant. His unwavering beliefs provide the audience with a reliable anchor, ensuring that no matter how complex the story becomes, the core themes of freedom, friendship, and adventure remain intact. Luffy's consistency allows him to act as a beacon of hope for others. His unshakable resolve and optimism are contagious, inspiring not only his crew but also the people he meets along his journey. The consistency ensures that Luffy remains relatable and aspirational even as the stakes grow higher. Because Luffy doesn't undergo significant internal changes, Oda is free to focus on developing the world and the supporting cast. This creates a richer narrative where each arc introduces new challenges, cultures, and characters who grow as a result of Luffy's influence. Luffy's static nature also ties directly into the overarching themes of One Piece. At its core, the series is about the pursuit of freedom, the bonds of friendship, and the importance of staying true to one's ideals. Luffy embodies these themes perfectly, and his consistency ensures that they remain central to the story, no matter how big or complex it becomes. Luffy's dream of becoming king of the pirates isn't just about power or wealth, it's about being the freest person in the world. This belief shapes his every decision, from standing against tyrants like Arlong and Crocodile to liberating entire nations like Dressrosa and Wano. By staying true to his ideals, Luffy challenges systems of oppression and inspires others to fight for their own freedom. Luffy's loyalty to his crew and his friends is absolute. He doesn't just see his crewmates as allies, he sees them as family. This bond is what drives many of the series' most emotional moments, from the Going Merry's farewell to the crew's reunion after the events of Sabaody Archipelago. Luffy's belief in the importance of dreams is one of his defining traits. He doesn't just pursue his own dreams, he actively supports and defends the dreams of others. This is why he's so quick to fight for people like Zoro, Nami, and Robin. Their dreams are as important to him as his own. In a series as long-running as One Piece, a static protagonist like Luffy ensures the narrative remains focused and thematically consistent. His unwavering nature allows Oda to explore a vast array of characters, conflicts, and arcs without losing sight of the story's core identity. Luffy doesn't need to change because his role isn't to evolve, it's to inspire evolution in the world around him. By the end of the series, Luffy's true dream to become king of the pirates will undoubtedly be fulfilled, but the true legacy of his journey won't just be the title he earns, it will be the countless lives he's changed along the way. This is the power of the static protagonist in a long-running narrative. They don't just shape the story, they shape the world itself. So, we've established Luffy as the heart of One Piece, the unyielding force that inspires change and growth in the world around him. But to understand how Ichiro Oda mastered long-running storytelling, we need to shift our focus onto how the narrative itself is structured. After all, the journey to becoming the king of the pirates isn't just about Luffy, it's about the world he explores, the people he meets, and the challenges he faces. And in One Piece, this journey is broken down into arcs and sagas, each with their own themes, settings, and stakes. To understand the brilliance of Oda's storytelling, we have to start at the very beginning, the East Blue Saga. This is where the foundation of One Piece's story structure is laid, a foundation that evolves and grows more intricate as the series progresses. Many fans of One Piece are familiar with its pre-time skip and post-time skip structure, with one monumental event dividing the story into two halves. But even before this, Oda uses a layered structure of arcs and sagas to tell his story. An arc is typically a self-contained narrative set on a single island or location, while a saga often spans multiple arcs, weaving together larger storylines and themes. For example, the Sky Island Saga, which occurs later in the story, is composed of two arcs, Jaya and Skypia. Together, these arcs tell a grand story about discovery, faith, and the clash of ideologies. This layered approach gives Oda the flexibility to tell smaller, episodic stories within larger, overarching narratives, creating a sense of cohesion across the series. However, to see how this approach develops, we have to start with the East Blue Saga, which is arguably the most self contained part of the story. The East Blue Saga serves as an introduction to the world of One Piece and is where Oda begins to establish the core dynamics of the story. Compared to later sagas, East Blue feels far more episodic. Each arc within the saga is a relatively standalone adventure with its own contained storyline, characters, and villains. For example, Orangetown Arc. The story focuses on Luffy and Zoro helping Nami defend the village from Buggy the Clown, a quirky but straightforward pirate villain. Syrup Village Arc. Here, Luffy and his crew foil Captain Kuro's plan to destroy Kaya's family and steal her fortune. Baratier Arc. This arc introduces Sanji and centers around the Straw Hats defending a floating restaurant from Don Krieg, another villain who, while entertaining, doesn't leave a long-lasting impression compared to later antagonists. Each of these arcs has a clear beginning, middle, and end, with the crew arriving at a new island, solving the problem at hand, and moving on to the next destination. While these arcs are enjoyable and serve their purpose, they lack the interconnectedness and complexity that will define later sagas. Villains are generally unmemorable, with the exception of Arlong in the Arlong Park arc, who sets the standard for the more compelling antagonists to come. Another key characteristic of the East Blue Saga is how grounded it feels compared to the rest of One Piece. While the series is now famous for its eccentric world building, unique character designs, and outlandish personalities, the East Blue Saga keeps things relatively tame. Yes, there are moments of whimsy, like the Baratier being a floating restaurant on the sea or the Fishman Pirates of Arlong Park, but for the most part, the settings and characters feel much more conventional. The islands are simple and lack the distinctive cultural identities that later islands like Skypia, Alabasta, and Wano will have. The design of the townsfolk and the supporting characters are also much more subdued, making it easier for new readers to acclimate to the world. This grounded approach isn't a flaw, it's intentional. Oda uses the East Blue Saga as a way to ease readers into the world of One Piece. By starting with a more relatable and straightforward setting, he ensures that the audience isn't overwhelmed. This makes the gradual escalation into the fantastical and complex territories feel more earned and natural. While the East Blue Saga may feel episodic compared to later sagas, it accomplishes several critical tasks that set the stage for the rest of the series. Introducing the core cast. The East Blue Saga is where we meet the East Blue Five: Luffy, Zoro, Nami, Usopp, and Sanji. Each of these characters is given their own introductory arc where we learn about their backstories, motivations, and dreams. This establishes the group dynamics that will carry the series forward, setting up the themes of adventure and friendship. From the very beginning, One Piece establishes itself as a story of endless adventure and unbreakable bonds. Luffy's interactions with his crewmates and the challenges they face together reinforce these themes time and again, laying the foundation for world building. Even in this early stage, Oda begins to hint at the larger world of One Piece. The introduction of concepts like the Grand Line, the Shishibukai, and Luffy's first bounty gives readers a glimpse into the vast, interconnected world beyond the East Blue. The first truly memorable antagonist. While most villains in the East Blue Saga are relatively simple, Arlong stands out as the first antagonist with a deeper connection to the main cast. His role in Nami's backstory and his status as a fishman with ties to the larger world-building themes foreshadow the complexity of future antagonists. The final arc of the East Blue Saga, Logetown, serves as a bridge between the episodic nature of East Blue and the more interconnected storytelling of later sagas. Dubbed the town of the beginning and the end, Logetown is where Gol D. Roger was executed, marking the start of the Great Pirate Era. It's also where Luffy has his first major encounter with the Marines, foreshadowing the larger role they'll play in the story moving forward. By the time the crew leaves Logtown, One Piece has shed much of its early simplicity. From this point on, the story becomes much more ambitious, with arcs and sagas weaving together grander narratives, deeper themes, and much more complex character relationships. The episodic adventures of the East Blue give way to the sprawling epic that One Piece is known for today. While the East Blue Saga may feel smaller in scale compared to what comes later, it's a perfect introduction to the world of One Piece. It sets up the core cast, establishes the themes of adventure and friendship, and lays the groundwork for the series' ever expanding world. More importantly, it gives the readers a taste of what's to come, ensuring that when the story truly takes off in Alabasta Saga and beyond, we're ready for the ride. Within the East Blue Saga, Oda gave us a grounded and episodic introduction to the world of One Piece. It established our core cast, the themes of adventure and friendship, and hinted at the vastness of the world yet to be explored. But by the time the Straw Hats leave Logtown and cross Reverse Mountain into the Grand Line, One Piece begins to evolve. The Alabasta saga marks a turning point, not just for the story, but the series as a whole. It's here that Oda transitions from relatively self-contained arcs to a saga-spanning narrative, with a central plot line that ties each island and arc together. This shift from episodic storytelling to a more cohesive, interconnected structure is what defines One Piece as we know it today. So let's dive into the Alabasta saga and explore why it's one of the most important sagas in the series. The Alabasta saga is pivotal because it's where Oda first introduces the storytelling formula that would become a hallmark of One Piece, a single, overarching narrative plot line spanning an entire saga, supported by smaller, interconnected side plots along the way. In this case, the primary story is clear. The Straw Hats must help Princess Vivi save her homeland of Alabasta from the grips of the villainous crocodile and his secret organization, Baroque Works. This structure, one major plot driving the saga forward, becomes the blueprint for future sagas like Dressrosa, where the central conflict is explored across multiple arcs, each adding layers to the larger story. To understand why this saga is so important, it's helpful to compare it to the East Blue saga. In the East Blue, the arcs are largely self-contained, with each island presenting a unique problem for the crew to solve. Orangetown, the Straw Hats save a village from Buggy the Clown. Syrup Village, they thwart Captain Kuro's plan to destroy Kaya's family. Baratier, they defend a floating restaurant against Don Krieg. Arlong Park, they liberate Nami's home from Arlong's tyranny. While these arcs are meaningful and establish the Straw Hats' dynamics, they feel more episodic with limited connections between them. The Alabasta saga, however, takes a different approach. Each arc, Reverse Mountain, Whiskey Peak, Little Garden, Drum Island, and Alabasta, serves as a piece of the larger puzzle. The events and characters in one arc directly influence what happens next, creating a sense of continuity and purpose that propels the story forward. One of Alabasta Saga's greatest strengths is its sense of exploration. Unlike later sagas that often focus on fewer locations, Punk Hazard and Dressrosa in the Dressrosa Saga, the Alabasta Saga takes the Straw Hats across a wide variety of settings. Reverse Mountain, the gateway to the Grand Line, a place built up throughout the East Blue as mysterious and dangerous. Crossing Reverse Mountain is the Straw Hats' first true step into the wider world of One Piece. Whiskey Peak, a seemingly friendly island that reveals the first layers of Baroque Works, introducing us to the scale of Crocodile's operation. Little Garden, a prehistoric island where the Straw Hats encounter giants and the themes of honor and perseverance. Drum Island, a snowy kingdom where the crew gains their doctor, Chopper, while exploring themes of healing, sacrifice, and leadership. Alabasta, the culmination of the saga, where the central conflict with Crocodile and Baroque Works reaches its climax. This variety not only makes the saga feel expansive and adventurous, but also gives Oda the chance to introduce key world-building elements that will shape the series for years to come. The Alabasta saga is packed with narrative seeds that are still paying off even decades later. Laugh-Tale, the legendary final island, is first mentioned, setting the stage for the Straw Hats' ultimate goal. Elbaf, the home of the giants, is introduced, teasing an island that fans have been eager to see ever since. Poneglyphs, these ancient stones hold the key to the Void Century, a central mystery of the series. Ancient Weapons, the concept of powerful weapons tied to the series' lore, is introduced. The Will of D, this enigmatic concept is hinted at, tying Luffy's lineage to the greater mysteries of the world. What's remarkable is that Oda doesn't overwhelm the audience with these elements. Instead, he weaves them into the narrative naturally, presenting them as intriguing details rather than immediate plot points. This slow burn approach allows the audience to feel the vastness of the world without losing sight of the saga's central story. A major factor that sets Alabasta Saga apart is its antagonist, Crocodile. While the East Blue Saga had memorable villains like Arlong, none of them carried the weight of the saga spanning threat. Crocodile is different. From the start of the saga, Crocodile's influence is felt through his organization, Baroque Works, which is heavily structured into a hierarchy of subordinates. The head, Crocodile operating under the alias Mr. Zero, orchestrates everything from the shadows. Officer agents, elite agents like Mr. 1, Daz Bones, and Mr. 2, Bon Clay serve as powerful adversaries, each posing unique challenges to the Straw Hats. Frontier agents, these lower ranking members carry out Crocodile's will and provide obstacles in the earlier arcs. This hierarchical structure isn't unique to Baroque works, it's a formula that Oda refines in later sagas, such as the Don Quixote pirates in Dressrosa and the Beast pirates in Wano. For example, Doflamingo's crew includes the head, Doflamingo as the mastermind, elite officers, key figures like Pika, Diamante, and Treble, subordinates, lower ranking members who fill out the organization and provide challenges along the way. By establishing this structure, Oda creates a sense of progression, allowing the Straw Hats to face increasingly difficult opponents as they work their way toward the main villain. In the Alabasta Saga, this hierarchical structure provides a framework for the battles and challenges faced by the Straw Hats. Each crewmate is given an opponent whose abilities test their skills and growth. For example, Luffy vs. Crocodile. Luffy's battles against Crocodile are some of the most intense in the saga, forcing him to grow as a fighter and a leader. Zoro vs. Mr. 1. This fight pushes Zoro to the brink, showcasing his determination to fulfill his dream and become the world's greatest swordsman. Sanji vs. Mr. 2. Sanji's battle highlights his resourcefulness and willingness to fight for his crew. Nami vs. Miss Doublefinger. Nami's fight demonstrates her growth as a combatant, using her newfound Climatex weapon to outwit her opponent. Usopp and Chopper vs. Mr. 4 and Miss Merry Christmas. This comedic yet high-stakes battle emphasizes teamwork and creativity. This formula, Luffy taking on the main villain while the crew handles subordinates, becomes a staple of One Piece, ensuring that every Straw Hat has their moments to shine. The Alabasta Saga is a turning point for One Piece, transitioning the series from episodic storytelling to a grand, interconnected narrative. It introduces the formula of saga-length plotlines, builds the world with mysteries that will resonate for decades, and cements the Straw Hats as a cohesive crew ready to face the challenges of the Grand Line. This saga isn't just the beginning of One Piece's true story, it's the blueprint for everything that follows. With the Alabasta Saga, Oda solidified the formula for One Piece's storytelling: grand, interconnected narratives driven by compelling characters, rich world building, and overarching mysteries. Alabasta introduced saga-spinning plot lines, layered villains like Crocodile, and high-stakes conflicts that resonated beyond a single arc. But as the Straw Hats sail forward on the Grand Line, Oda takes his storytelling to new heights, literally and figuratively, with the Skypia Saga. What makes the Skypia Saga stand out isn't just its fantastical setting or epic battles, it's how Oda uses it as a microcosm for the entire story of One Piece. Skypia is self-contained, yet it mirrors the larger narrative of the series, from its themes of tyranny and liberation to its ties to ancient history and the Void Century. To see how this saga reflects the broader story, we need to start with beginning with the Jaya arc. The Skypia Saga begins with the Jaya arc, which serves as the perfect prologue to the adventure in the sky. On the surface, Jaya seems like a straightforward setup. The Straw Hats are chasing a rumor about a legendary sky island, but beneath this simple premise, Oda plants the seed for a much deeper story. The most important element introduced here is the tale of Nolan the Liar. This story, passed down as a myth among the people of Jaya, tells of Mont Blanc Noland, an explorer who claimed to have discovered a city of gold hundreds of years ago. His failure to prove the existence of this city led to his execution, and his name became synonymous with deceit. While it seems like a simple folk tale, the story of Noland plays a critical role in the Skypia Saga, tying together themes of pride, history, and the search for truth. Through this folktale, Oda begins to explore a reoccurring theme in One Piece: how history is written by the victors and how truth is often buried under layers of myth and propaganda. Just as the Void Century represents a missing piece of the world history in One Piece, the truth about Noland and the Golden City has been obscured by time and misinformation. This parallel draws a direct connection between the smaller scale story of Skypia and the larger narrative of One Piece. The Straw Hats' arrival in Skypia is nothing short of magical. The fantastical setting, a literal island in the sky, perfectly captures the spirit of adventure that defines One Piece. But as the crew explores this strange new world, they uncover a history, conflict, and oppression that mirrors the struggles of the world below. At the heart of the conflict is a self proclaimed god named Enel, who rules Skypia with an iron fist. Enel's obsession with power and his control over the land are rooted in his desire to claim Verth, the rich and fertile soil that once belonged to the Shandians, a warrior tribe exiled from their ancestral home. The Shandians, led by Wiper, have been fighting for centuries to reclaim their land and their pride, symbolized by the legendary Golden Bell. The bell isn't just a relic of the past, it represents the soul of Shandora, the ancient city of gold that once stood as a beacon of pride and resistance. Through flashbacks, we learn about the connection between Noland, Shandora, and the Golden Bell, revealing a story of friendship, betrayal, and sacrifice that spans hundreds of years. This history parallels the broader narrative of One Piece, where the ancient conflicts and the forgotten truths continue to shape the present. At the climax of the Skypea saga, Luffy confronts Enel in an epic battle that is as symbolic as it is thrilling, with his rubber body rendering him immune to Enel's devastating lightning attacks. Luffy becomes the perfect counter to God, who views himself as invincible. But defeating Enel isn't just about physical strength, it's about restoring hope and pride to the people of Skypea and the Shandians. When Luffy rings the golden bell, it's more than a victory, it's a symbolic art of liberation. The bell, which had been silent for centuries, is a reminder of Shandora's legacy and the enduring spirit of its people. By defeating Enel and ringing the bell, Luffy shines a literal and metaphorical light on the island, bringing an end to the centuries of conflict and restoring peace. This act parallels Luffy's larger role in the world of One Piece: to defeat oppressive forces and bring freedom to those living under tyranny. Skypea also introduces one of the most significant pieces of lore in One Piece: the Void Century, a mysterious 100-year period erased from the world's history. Through the poneglyph found on Skypea, we learn that the Golden Bell bears an inscription from the ancient civilization of Shandora, connecting the island to the broader mysteries of the One Piece world. This revelation adds depth to the saga, tying the microcosm of Skypea's history to the grand narrative of the Void Century and the search for the One Piece. Oda's decision to introduce the Void Century here is no coincidence. Just as the Shandians fought to preserve their history and pride, the larger world of One Piece is grappling with the consequences of forgotten truths and buried conflicts. Skypea becomes a microcosm of the larger story, reflecting themes of oppression, resistance, and the search for freedom that permeate the series. What makes Skypea so brilliant is how it encapsulates the core themes and structures of One Piece within a self-contained narrative. Let's break it down. Corrupt authority. Enel, as the self-proclaimed god, mirrors the oppressive forces that Luffy will face throughout the series, from the world government to the Yonko. Historical conflict. The centuries-old struggle between the Shandians and Skypeans mirror the ongoing Great War in the world of One Piece, a conflict rooted in the Void Century. Restoration of hope. Luffy's role as the bringer of light, both literally and metaphorically, reflects his purpose in the larger story: to challenge the status quo, inspire hope, and liberate the oppressed. By the end of the saga, Skypea has been forever changed, but the story's echoes reach far beyond the clouds. The themes, conflicts, and revelations introduced here lay the groundwork for much of what's to come, proving that even in a self-contained story, Oda is always thinking about the bigger picture. The Skypea saga is a testament to Oda's brilliance as a storyteller. It's not just a fantastical adventure, it's a reflection of the larger narrative of One Piece, filled with symbolism, parallels, and profound themes. By weaving together the personal and the historical, the mythic and the grounded, Oda creates a saga that stands on its own while contributing to the grand tapestry of the series. From the tale of Nolan the Liar to the clash between Luffy and Enel, Skypia reminds us that One Piece isn't just about reaching the destination, it's about the stories, struggles, and victories that shape the journey. So far, we've been exploring One Piece saga by saga, analyzing how Oda builds his narrative through layered arcs and overarching themes. But now it's time to take a step back and look at the bigger picture. These sagas, the East Blue Saga, the Alabasta Saga, and the Skypia Saga, are the foundation upon which the grander narrative of One Piece is built. They introduce us to the world, the Straw Hats, and the key themes of the series. But One Piece is so much more than just the adventures of Luffy and his crew. One of Oda's most underrated achievements and a testament to his brilliance as a long term storyteller is his ability to break away from the Straw Hats and develop side plots that eventually evolve into major conflicts. This narrative technique, foreshadowing and drip feeding information about other characters, locations, and events, add depth to the story while keeping readers engaged in the grander narrative. Let's take a closer look at how Oda weaves these side plots into the fabric of One Piece, starting with one of the most poignant examples, the story of Portgas D. Ace. Portgas D. Ace is a perfect example of how Oda plants the seeds of a side plot, nurtures it over time, and allows it to bloom into one of the series' most emotionally charged storylines. Ace is introduced back in the Alabasta saga as Luffy's older brother. From the very beginning, Oda frames Ace as more than just a supporting character. His larger than life presence, his bond with Luffy, and his connections to the larger world, such as his pursuit of Blackbeard, hint that Ace's story is far from a simple side note. When Ace gives Luffy his Vivi card, it seems like a small detail, just a practical tool for staying connected, but this moment sets the stage for a much larger narrative arc. Ace's confrontation with Blackbeard becomes a critical event in the story, but instead of immediately following up on it, Oda lets this thread simmer in the background. The focus returns on the Straw Hats, but Ace's journey is always there, moving forward off screen. During the Water 7 saga, Oda begins to lay the groundwork for what will become one of the most pivotal sagas in One Piece, the Marineford saga. In an offhand comment, it's revealed that there is a place called Impel Down, a prison described as a living hell. At the time, this seems like an interesting world-building detail, but nothing more. Then, nearly 200 chapters later, we find ourselves in Impel Down, with Luffy desperately trying to break Ace out before his execution. This buildup is nothing short of masterful. Oda doesn't rush to resolve Ace's storyline. Instead, he allows it to grow organically, weaving it in the broader tapestry of the series. By the time we reach the Marineford saga, Ace's story has become the main conflict, driving one of the most emotionally intense and narratively significant arcs in One Piece. And yet, it all started from a simple side plot introduced hundreds of chapters earlier. What makes Ace's storyline even more impactful is how it literally divides the story of One Piece in half. The events of the Marineford saga, culminating in Ace's tragic death, are so monumental that they mark the end of the pre-time skip era and usher in the post-time skip portion of the series. This divide isn't just symbolic, it's reflected in Luffy himself. After failing to save Ace, Luffy bears a permanent scar on his chest, a constant reminder of the loss he endured and the strength he needs to gain. This scar represents the difference between the optimistic and somewhat carefree Luffy of the pre-time skip and the more resolute, determined Luffy of the post-time skip. Ace's story also forces the Straw Hats to confront the harsh realities of the world they live in. It's no longer about dreams and adventures, it's about survival, sacrifice, and the weight of their goals. This thematic shift transforms the tone of the series, deepening its narrative and preparing the Straw Hats and the readers for the challenges to come. What makes this technique so impressive is that Oda doesn't just do it once, he does it repeatedly, constantly moving the narrative ball forward for other characters, locations, and conflicts outside of the Straw Hats. After nearly every arc, Oda takes us away from Luffy and his crew to check on other parts of the world. These moments often seem minor at first, but they plant seeds that will grow into major plot lines down the line. For example, the Revolutionary Army. First introduced through Dragon's connection to Luffy in Logtown, the Revolutionary Army's importance grows over time, culminating in major revelations during the Dressrosa saga and beyond. Blackbeard's rise, from his initial introduction as a shadowy figure during Jaya to his eventual role as one of the most dangerous antagonists in the series, Blackbeard's journey is told largely through these side moments. Yonkos and Warlords. Characters like Shanks, Kaido, and Big Mom are built up gradually with small teases and appearances that hint at their significance long before they take center stage. By constantly drip feeding information about the larger world and its players, Oda ensures that every chapter feels connected to a greater whole. Even the smallest details eventually grow into significant plot lines with major ramifications for the story. Balancing a story as expansive as One Piece is no small feat. Oda's ability to shift focus between the Straw Hats and other parts of the world without losing the audience investment is what makes his storytelling so remarkable. These side plots don't just enrich the narrative, they create a sense of anticipation and interconnectedness that keeps the readers engaged over the long term. This technique also reinforces one of the central themes of One Piece, that the world is vast, interconnected, and full of stories beyond just the main characters. By giving us glimpses of these other stories, Oda reminds us that Luffy's journey is just one thread in a much larger tapestry. One Piece isn't just a story about a crew of pirates sailing the seas. It's a story about a world in motion. Oda's ability to break away from the Straw Hats to develop side plots that grow into major conflicts is a testament to his mastery of long form storytelling. Whether it's Ace's journey, the rise of Blackbeard, or the Revolutionary Army's shadowy plans, these narrative threads add depth and complexity to the series, making it feel alive and dynamic. And while Ace's story is one of the most striking examples of this technique, Oda's use of foreshadowing and off screen progression ensures that One Piece always feels like a living, breathing world. The divide between the pre and post time skip eras, symbolized by Luffy's scar, represents the narrative evolution, proving that every side plot, no matter how small, has the potential to become a defining moment in the story. With every arc, the world grows larger, the stakes grow higher, and the connections between characters and events become even more intricate. It's a testament to the brilliance of Oda's storytelling, and one of the many reasons One Piece remains the gold standard for long running narratives. We've explored how Oda masterfully weaves side plots into the larger narrative, turning seemingly minor details into major conflicts that shape the story. But there's another layer to his storytelling brilliance that takes this even further: his use of factions to drive the progression of the story. In One Piece, the world isn't just a backdrop, it's a living, breathing system of power struggles and alliances. Factions like the Four Yonko, the world government, and the Revolutionary Army aren't just set dressing. They are integral to the narrative, creating a framework that allows the story to expand while maintaining its focus. What makes these factions so compelling is how Oda uses them to chart the growth of both the world and the Straw Hats, as the crew moves from the relatively small scale conflicts of the East Blue to the grander battles of the New World. They come into direct conflict with these powerful forces, marking their progression and increasing the stakes of their journey. Let's dive deeper into how the factions serve as a foundation for Oda's long running storytelling mastery. At the core of One Piece's world buildings are its major factions. The Four Yonko, the world government, and the Revolutionary Army represent different centers of power in the Grand Line, each with its own ideology, goals, and methods. These factions provide structure to the world, acting as a constant source of tension and intrigue. The Yonko, four of the most powerful pirates in the world, ruling vast territories in the New World. Each Yonko represents a different style of leadership, from Kaido's militaristic oppression to Big Mom's twisted family empire. They embody the chaos and ambition of piracy. The world government, the dominant global authority, with the Marines serving as its military arm. While it maintains order, it is riddled with corruption and hides dark secrets, such as the truth of the Void Century and the actions of the Celestial Dragons. The Revolutionary Army, a faction dedicated to overthrowing the world government, representing rebellion and resistance against oppression. These factions aren't just static, they interact with each other and the Straw Hats in a way that create a dynamic, ever-evolving world. Initially, the Yonko are distant, almost mythical features mentioned in passing. Shanks, for instance, is introduced early on as a friendly but powerful pirate, while Kaido and Big Mom remain in the shadows for much of the series. But as the Straw Hats grow stronger and gain notoriety, their conflicts with the Yonko become inevitable. Big Mom in Whole Cake Island. This saga serves as the first time the Straw Hats directly challenge a Yonko's territory, showcasing their growth as a crew and escalating the stakes. Kaido and Wano. The Wano arc brings the Straw Hats into direct conflict with another Yonko, solidifying their place among the world's most significant players. These confrontations aren't just physical battles, they're ideological clashes. Luffy's dream of freedom as the Pirate King directly opposes the authoritarian control of figures like Big Mom and Kaido, adding thematic depth to these conflicts. If the Yonko represent decentralized chaos, the world government represents centralized authority. With its vast networks of marines, cypherpole agents, and celestial dragons, the world government casts a shadow over the story. The world government's role in One Piece is multifaceted. On one hand, it provides order, keeping piracy and rebellion in check. On the other hand, it's a deeply corrupt institution, willing to commit atrocities to maintain its power. This duality creates a morally complex antagonist that challenges the Straw Hats in ways that go beyond physical combat. The Marines, led by figures like Akiano and Kizaru, serve as the world government's military arm, clashing with the Straw Hats on multiple occasions. The Cypherpole divisions, particularly CP9 and CP0, represent the shadowy, secretive side of the government carrying out its darkest missions. The Celestial Dragons, as the privileged elite of the world, symbolize the inequality and corruption that Luffy and his crew inherently oppose. The world government's secrets, such as the Void Sentry and the ancient weapons, tie directly into the overarching mysteries of the series, making it a central force in the story's endgame. While the Yonko and the world government represent two dominant forces, the Revolutionary Army introduces a third perspective. Led by Dragon, Luffy's father, the Revolutionary Army exists outside the traditional pirate versus government dynamic, working to overthrow the world government and create a new world order. The Revolutionary Army adds complexity to the narrative, representing a faction that aligns with the Straw Hats' ideals of freedom and justice, but operates on a much larger scale. Its introduction through subtle hints, such as Dragon's appearance in Logtown, is another example of Oda's mastery of long-term foreshadowing. As the story progresses, the Revolutionary Army's actions, such as their clash with Blackbeard at Baltigo, become increasingly significant, tying into the larger conflict between the Yonko and the world government. What makes Oda's use of factions so brilliant is how they create a constant source of conflict and story expansion. Each faction has its own agenda, leading to alliances, betrayals, and power struggles that drive the narrative forward. For example, the Yonko don't just fight the Straw Hats, they fight each other, as seen in the alliance and eventual betrayal between Big Mom and Kaido. The world government and the Revolutionary Army are natural enemies, but their clashes often affect the pirates caught in the middle. Blackbeard, as a wild card, plays all sides, using the chaos between factions to further his own goals. This interplay between factions ensures that the world of One Piece feels alive and dynamic. Even when the Straw Hats aren't directly involved, the actions of these factions continue to shape the story. The factions in One Piece also carry significant thematic weight. They represent different philosophies and systems of power. The Yonko symbolize individual ambition and the pursuit of freedom, albeit often twisted by greed and violence. The world government represents order and control, but its corruption and secrecy undermine its legitimacy. The Revolutionary Army embodies rebellion and the desire to create a better world, though its methods and goals remain shrouded in mystery. These themes tie directly into Luffy's journey. His dream of becoming Pirate King isn't just about personal glory, it's about challenging these systems and creating a world where freedom can thrive. Oda's use of factions like the Yonko, the world government, and the Revolutionary Army is a cornerstone of his long-running storytelling mastery. These factions provide structure to the world of One Piece, creating a dynamic framework where conflict, growth, and progression are constantly in motion. By using factions as a source of conflict and thematic pillars, Oda ensures that the story remains engaging and meaningful. The interactions between these conflicts create a sense of interconnectedness that keeps the reader invested, while the Straw Hats' journey through this complex world highlights their growth and the stakes of their mission. As One Piece builds towards its climax, these factions are more important than ever, shaping the world and setting the stage for the ultimate battle. It's yet another example why One Piece continues to stand as a masterpiece of long-running storytelling. As we've explored throughout this video, Eiichiro Oda's storytelling in One Piece is nothing short of extraordinary. From the foundational arcs and sagas that introduce us to the Straw Hats and their world, to the intricate side plots that evolve into major conflicts, to the dynamic interplay of factions like the Yonko and the world government, every element of One Piece showcases Oda's unparalleled mastery of long running storytelling. Now, as we approach the conclusion of this video, let's tie everything together and reflect on how these aspects combine to make One Piece a timeless epic. From the very first chapter, Oda has created a world that feels vibrant, dynamic, and constantly evolving. Every island, every culture, and every faction is imbued with history, personality, and significance. The Grand Line isn't just a setting, it's a living, breathing character in the story, constantly shifting and growing. Whether it's the political intrigue of Alabasta, the mythical grandeur of Skypia, or the fractured alliances of the New World, Oda's world building ensures that the audience is always engaged. The interplay between factions like the Yonko, the Revolutionary Army, and the world government keeps the stakes high and the story fresh. At the heart of One Piece are its characters, especially Monkey D. Luffy, whose unwavering dreams and ideals serves as the emotional anchor of the series. Luffy's consistency as a static protagonist allows him to influence the world around him, inspiring others to grow and change. But it's not just Luffy. Every Straw Hat, ally, and even antagonist is carefully crafted, with their own dreams, struggles, and arcs. From Nami's journey of liberation in Arlong Park to Robin's fight to reclaim her right in Enies lobby, these character-driven moments add depth and humanity to the grand adventure. One Piece isn't just a story about pirates searching for treasure, it's a story about freedom, justice, and the legacies we leave behind. The themes of oppression and liberation, of breaking free from tyranny and pursuing one's dream, resonate deeply throughout the series. The saga of Skypia, for instance, serves as a microcosm of these larger ideas, with Luffy bringing light and freedom to a land oppressed by a false god. Similarly, Ace's story, which divides the series into pre- and post-timeskip eras, symbolizes the cost of freedom and the sacrifices required to achieve it. These thematic layers give One Piece emotional weight and universal appeal. Another hallmark of Oda's storytelling is his ability to balance intimate, character focused arcs with grand, world shaping conflicts, from the episodic feel of the East Blue to the interconnected saga length narratives of the New World. Every piece of the puzzle fits together seamlessly. Side plots like Ace's journey or the subtle buildup of Impel Down show Oda's talent for weaving smaller threads into the larger tapestry, and the use of factions with their constant power struggles and alliances create a sense of progression that keeps the audience hooked. Oda's mastery of long-term storytelling lies in his ability to plant seeds early and pay them off in ways that feel both surprising and inevitable. Details like Ace's Vivi card, the introduction of the Revolutionary Army, or even the mention of the Yonko in the Water 7 saga may seem minor at first, but they grow into major plot lines that define the series. This commitment to long-term story planning not only rewards attentive readers, but also reinforces the interconnectedness of the One Piece world. It's a rare skill that few storytellers can match, and it's one of the reasons why One Piece remains so engaging even after 1,000 chapters. When we take a step back and look at everything we've discussed, it becomes clear that Eiichiro Oda's storytelling success isn't built on any one element. It's the combination of all these strengths that makes One Piece shine. A vibrant world filled with rich cultures and history, characters who inspire and grow, driving the story forward, themes that resonate deeply with readers, exploring freedom, justice, and the pursuit of dreams, a narrative structure that balances small moments with the grand conflicts, foreshadowing and long-term payoffs that keep the audience invested. All of these elements work in harmony to create a story that feels alive, expansive, and emotionally resonant. As we wrap up, it's worth taking a moment to appreciate how One Piece has transcended its medium to become something truly timeless. Eiichiro Oda didn't just create a story, he built a legacy that inspired countless fans, artists, and storytellers around the world. What's remarkable is how Oda's storytelling resonates across generations. For readers who started the journey 27 years ago, One Piece has been a constant companion, growing and evolving alongside them. For newer fans, the series offers an incredible treasure trove of adventure, humor, and heartfelt moments to discover for the first time. This ability to connect with readers of all ages across decades speaks to the universal nature of One Piece's themes. At its core, the series is about the human spirit, the drive to chase dreams, overcome adversity, and protect the people we care about. It's about the power of friendship, the fight for freedom, and even the belief that even in a flawed world, we can find our own kind of treasure. These are the ideas that will never lose their relevance, no matter how much time passes. And let's not forget the influence Oda has had on the world of manga and storytelling as a whole. His ability to weave intricate narratives, build rich worlds, and create unforgettable characters has set a new standard for long form storytelling. Many of the series we love today, from epic adventures to slice of life dramas, owe a debt to the blueprint Oda established with One Piece. His work isn't just a testament to the potential of manga, it's a reminder that with creativity, dedication, and heart, a single story can reach millions of people, breaking barriers and touching lives in a way we never thought possible. So, as we take a look back on everything that makes Oda's storytelling exceptional, I leave you with one final question. What's your treasure? What is it about One Piece that resonates with you personally? Is it the themes, the characters, the epic battles, or something entirely unique to your own experience? As we wrap things up, think about what keeps you coming back to One Piece. Is it the thrill of adventure, the characters who feel like lifelong friends, or maybe it's Oda's ability to weave mystery that leaves you eagerly waiting for the next chapter? One of the most incredible things about One Piece is how it inspires all of us differently. For some, it's about chasing their own dreams. Much like Luffy and his crew, for others, it's a story about hope and resilience, and the idea that no matter how tough the journey, the light at the end is worth it. I'd love to know, what's your personal connection to the series? Let's keep this conversation alive in the comments and celebrate what makes One Piece a story we'll treasure forever. Thank you for joining me on this journey through Oda's masterful storytelling. Until next time, keep dreaming, keep exploring, and as Luffy would say, let's set sail.